Alright, so we've been analyzing some chord progressions there and figuring out the number degrees of the key that they come from. And there's a couple terms I want to introduce you to. One term, I've said it earlier in this series, is the tonal center. And the tonal center, it's not nougat in the middle of a Snickers bar. The tonal center is just what our ear hears as home base. And in all those progressions that I showed you just there, we always used, everything was emphasized, everything's harmonizing around that one chord. So like, if I was in that key of A, we start with the one chord. Our tonal center is what sounds like the beginning and it sounds like the end. You hear that last chord, how it sounded like the progression's over, right? That's the tonal center. Now when you're using the actual major scale over a progression like that, the tonal center is the one chord, and the tonal center is also the root note, which would be A in this instance. And so when it comes to playing scales, and I'm emphasizing improvising, like the pentatonic and blues and rock. When you're playing solos, knowing your tonal center is really going to help. And that's how I kind of learn these little cells all over the guitar. But so anyway, one term is that tonal center. And so far, we've thought of the one chord as the tonal center in the progressions that I showed you. Okay? But there's 7 chords in a key, and we've only been talking about the 6 chords. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The 1, 4, and 5 are major, and the 2, 3, and 6 are the minor chords. Okay? Well, check this out. Each of those 6 chords can actually be shifted into the tonal center. So what that means is actually, and you were probably wondering, well, what about progressions, like a minor progression, a minor key, or the key of A minor, or the key of B minor, blah, blah, all that stuff, right? Well, what the good news about what are called the modes and minor keys, and the terms that you've heard like Mixolydian and Lydian and Aeolian and Dorian, all that stuff, is you actually have all the tools already to use all that stuff. Because the good news is all those modes, like Mixolydian and Aeolian and those terms, or a minor key, all that stuff, it's the exact, it is what we've been studying, but just with a different one of those 6 chords as shifting to the tonal center. The first one of those I want to talk about is when we take a major key, for instance, the key of C major. Let's just go through the chords of C major again, just as regular major and minor chords. The 1 chord is always a major chord. So in C major, the 1 chord is a C major chord. The 2 chord is always a whole step up in minor. The 3 chord's a whole step up from there in minor, so E minor. So we had C, D minor, E minor. The 3 to the 4 is always a half step, and the 4 chord is a major chord, so it's F major. So we have C, D minor, E minor, F major, or the degrees of the key: the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord. The 5 chord's a whole step up, and it's major, so it's a G chord. You can also play G7. The 5 chord is that bluesy dominant chord. And then we only have the 6th chord left, which is a whole step up in minor, A minor. So any one of those 6 chords can be shifted as the tonal center. And really, the way you do that is you just start with one of the other chords and kind of build a progression where your ear is hearing one of those other 6 chords as the starting and ending point. The one I want to talk about right now, though, is the 6th the sixth chord, the sixth degree. So let me quiz you real quick. What's the sixth chord of C major? Remember, the 1, 4, and 5 are major, so it's not a major chord. The 2, 3, and 6 are minor chords, so it's all right. We know it's going to be a minor chord. We could count up 6, you know, from C, or we could count up the chords if we've been practicing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can also look at it on the guitar. Another good way to look at it is, you know, I could take my C and go down that minor third distance, and that's going to be my 6. So it's A. So the sixth chord of C major is A minor. Okay? I'm going somewhere with this. So what that means is I could take all the same chords of C major, which in any combination they're related to each other. They always sound good together. And you'll learn certain progressions, you know, have movement, and you'll learn little things that you like about putting those chords together. But that sixth chord, and so we're in the key of C major, so A minor, I could take all the chords of C major that we've been playing and come up with a progression, but instead of starting it with C, I could start it with the sixth chord and shift that and think of that as the tonal center, and now I'm in the key of A minor. So any minor key comes from its relative major.